Welcome to Warhammer 40k 8th edition Battle Report 28. 2,000 points, Chaos Demons of Nurgle versus Dark Angels. This will be the big rulebook, Maelstrom of War mission, Cleanse and Capture. For an overview of both of the armies and the war gear that they are bringing, please check out the pregame show, which came out at the beginning of the group. So let's begin by taking a quick look around the board and at where the objective markers have been placed. Starting with this 2 foot by 2 foot section, objective marker 6 is right here next to this ruin. In this middle 2 foot by 2 foot section, objective marker 2 is right here next to this ruin towards the edge. In this third 2 foot by 2 foot section, objective marker 1 is right here next to this ruin towards the corner. On the other side of the board, in this 2 foot by 2 foot section, objective marker 4 is this one right here next to this ruin. In this middle 2 foot by 2 foot section, objective marker 5 is right here next to this ruin. And in the final 2 foot by 2 foot section, objective marker 3 is this one right here next to this ruin. We will be rolling for a random map deployment today, and so here's that roll. Getting a 1, which is Spearhead Assault. So on a roll of a 1, 2, or 3, the Chaos Demons of Nurgle will begin deploying on the near side, and the Dark Angels will deploy on the far side. On a roll of a 4, 5, or 6, it will be the opposite, so Chaos Demons of Nurgle on the far side, and Dark Angels on the near side. And so here's the roll, rolling a 2, so Chaos Demons of Nurgle will deploy on the near side, and the Dark Angels will deploy on the far side. And now on a roll of a 1, 2, or 3, the Chaos Demons of Nurgle will begin to deploy first. On a 4, 5, or 6, the Dark Angels will begin deploying first. And rolling a 3, so the Chaos Demons of Nurgle will begin to deploy first. We will be back after the deployment. So the Chaos Demons of Nurgle began to deploy first, but the Dark Angels finished deploying first, and so the Dark Angels will go first, unless the Chaos Demons of Nurgle are able to successfully seize the initiative. Let's take a quick look around the board at where each army placed all of their units. Beginning with the Dark Angels, since they finished their deployment first, starting in the back corner we have the 1st Nephilim Jet Fighter, the 1st Squad of Tactical Marines, Land Raider Redeemer, and the Deathwing Knights and the Warlord Belial are embarked inside the Land Raider. The 2nd Squad of Tactical Marines sitting on objective marker 6, Ravenwing Black Knights, 3rd and final squad of Tactical Marines sitting on objective marker 3, Ravenwing Talonmaster, Predator, and final Nephilim Jet Fighter in the back corner. Now going over to the Chaos Demons of Nurgle deployment, going from left to right from the Dark Angels perspective, we have a squad of Plague Bearers sitting on objective marker 4 in the back here, Demon Prince of Nurgle with wings, squad of 6 Plague Drones, Great Unclean One with Doomsday Bell and Plague Flail, 2nd squad of Plague Bearers in the back, also sitting on objective marker 4, 2nd squad of Plague Drones, 2nd Demon Prince of Nurgle with wings, the Warlord Rodigus, Great Unclean One with Doomsday Bell and Corruption, and finally the 3rd squad of Plague Bearers sitting on objective marker 1. So now the Chaos Demons of Nurgle will attempt to seize the initiative, and they are looking for a 6. And they successfully roll a 6, so they will successfully seize the initiative. So let's move into Chaos Demons of Nurgle, turn 1. Going into Chaos Demons of Nurgle turn 1, a reminder that the Chaos Demons of Nurgle will have 9 command points available, and the Dark Angels will have 8 command points available. Since this is the big rulebook, Maelstrom of War mission, Cleanse and Capture at the beginning of the turn, the Chaos Demons of Nurgle drew 3 tactical objective cards, and they drew Area Denial, score 1 victory point, if there are no enemy models within 6 inches of the center of the battlefield at the end of your turn. If there are no enemy models within 12 inches of the center of the battlefield at the end of your turn, score D3 victory points instead. Secure Objective 6, score 1 victory point if you control Objective Marker 6 at the end of your turn, and Secure Objective 3, score 1 victory point if you control Objective Marker 3 at the end of your turn. And Objective Marker 6 is this one right here, currently being held by a squad of Tactical Marines. And Objective Marker 3 is this one right here, also currently being held by a squad of Tactical Marines. So going into the movement phase, for Chaos Demons of Nurgle turn 1, we will begin with the Great Unclean One with Plague Flail, who will move up the board up to 7 inches, and he will also declare an advance. And so here's his advance roll, getting 6 additional additional inches for 13 inches of total movement. And so the Great Unclean One will finish up right here, and he is now within 3 inches of the center of objective marker 5 right here. Next, this squad of plague drones will move up the board up to 10 inches, and they will also declare an advance. And so here's their advance roll, and they will get to add 1 thanks to their instrument. So they get 2 inches of advance total, which will give them up to 12 inches of total movement. And so the plague drones ended up here. Next, this Demon Prince of Nurgle with wings will move up the board up to 12 inches, and he will also declare an advance. And here's his advance roll, rolling 6 additional inches for up to 18 inches of total movement. And the Demon Prince of Nurgle will jump up to here, in front of the plague drones, but still somewhat behind the Great Unclean One. This squad of plague bearers is now going to move up the board up to 5 inches, and they will also declare an advance. And here's their advance roll, getting 4 additional inches for up to 9 inches of total movement. Right to there. This squad of plague bearers sitting on objective marker 4 will remain still. This squad of plague bearers sitting on objective marker 1 will also remain still. This squad of 6 plague drones is going to move up the board up to 10 inches, and they will also declare an advance. And here's their advance roll, getting 3 additional inches, but plus 1 thanks to the instrument, so a total of 4 inches of advance for 14 inches of total movement. And they will finish their movement like so. Now this Demon Prince of Nurgle with wings is going to move up the board up to 12 inches, and he will also declare an advance. And here's the Demon Prince's advance roll, getting 5 additional inches for up to 17 inches of total movement. And he will finish his movement right here. Next, the Great Unclean One with corruption will move up the board up to 7 inches, and he will also declare an advance. And here's his advance roll, rolling 5 additional inches for up to 12 inches of total movement. And he will finish his movement right here. Finally, Rodigus will move up the board up to 7 inches, and he will also declare an advance. And here's his advance roll, getting 6 additional inches for up to 13 inches of total movement. And Rodigus finished right here, definitely not moving up the full 13 inches in order to be right behind the Great Unclean One. Going into the Psychic phase, for Chaos Demons of Nurgle turn 1, both of the Demon Princes of Nurgle are not in range to cast Smite onto the Dark Angels, and there are no wounded models, so they have no need to cast Fleshy Abundance. But the Great Unclean One with Plague Flail is just within 18 inches of 3 of the Ravenwing Black Knights. These 3 right here are within 18 inches. These 2 are well within 18. This guy is just within 18. So the Great Unclean One will be able to attempt to manifest Smite onto those Ravenwing Black Knights. And Smite has Warp Charge value of 5. And they fail with a 3. This Great Unclean One is not within range to manifest anything. So Rodigus will simply manifest Miasma of Pestilence onto himself, and that's all. And Miasma of Pestilence has Warp Charge value 6, and he passes with a 7. And the Dark Angels have no Psychers, so they will not be able to deny, so Miasma of Pestilence will go off on Rodigus. And also, because he casted it on a 7, his special ability, Deluge of Nurgle, activates, and so the closest enemy unit to Rodigus suffers a mortal wound. And there is no range specified within the special ability, it's just simply the closest enemy unit, no matter how far away apparently. So this Land Raider is the closest enemy unit to Rodigus. It doesn't even have to be visible, although the Land Raider is visible. So the Land Raider will suffer 1 mortal wound. And the Dark Angels will not use a stratagem to attempt to deny it, as it is only 1 mortal wound, and that is the only mortal wound that the Chaos Demons of Nurgle will be able to inflict onto the Land Raider this turn. So the Land Raider will fall from 16 starting wounds down to 15. So going into the shooting phase, there is nothing within range to fire at. So going into the assault phase, there are no charges to declare. Therefore, going into the fight phase, there are no fights to resolve. And going into the morale phase, there are no morale checks to take. And so taking a look at the tactical objective cards, the Chaos Demons of Nurgle did successfully complete area denial, and there are no enemy units within 12 inches of the center of the board, and so they will get D3 victory points. And so here's the roll for the number of victory points, and getting 3 victory points out of D3. The Chaos Demons of Nurgle did not complete Secure Objective 6, and they did not complete Secure Objective 3, since both objective markers are within the Dark Angels deployment zone, and so the Chaos Demons of Nurgle will elect to throw Secure Objective 6 away.
And so at the end of Chaos Demons of Nurgle turn 1, the score currently sits at 3 victory points for the Chaos Demons of Nurgle and 0 victory points for the Dark Angels. Going
Going into Dark Angels turn 1, a reminder that the Dark Angels have 8 command points available, and the Chaos Demons of Nurgle have 9 command points available.
And so at the beginning of the turn, the Dark Angels drew 3 new tactical objective cards, and they drew Big Game Hunter. Score 1 victory point if at least one enemy unit with a wounds characteristic of 10 or more was destroyed during this turn. If at least one enemy unit with a wounds characteristic of 20 or more was destroyed during this turn, score D3 victory points instead. Secure Objective 6. Score 1 victory point if you control Objective Marker 6 at the end of your turn, and not one step back. When this tactical objective is generated, secretly choose either your next turn, your next 2 turns, or your next 3 turns. Score 1 D3 or D3 plus 3 victory points respectively if this tactical objective is still active at the end of the turn you choose. This tactical objective is immediately discarded if the battle ends, or any friendly Dark Angels unit falls back or fails a morale test. And while it's supposed to be secret, for the purpose of filming, we will have it not be secret. And so the Dark Angels will choose their next turn for 1 victory point if they do successfully achieve it. 1, so that the tactical objective card is not hanging around forever. But 2, because who knows how long this game will go on for. And so while I have the utmost confidence that the Dark Angels will not fall back and or fail a morale check, because they would not score this until the end of their next turn at minimum, I don't know that this game is going to go on for a full 4 game turns. Hopefully it does, but who knows. And so they will take the 1 guaranteed victory point, especially since the next best is only D3 and they could possibly roll 1 for that anyways. So they will pick their next turn for 1 victory point. Going into the movement phase, for Dark Angels turn 1, this squad of Tactical Marines will remain still. This Land Raider Redeemer will also remain still. This squad of Tactical Marines on Objective Marker 6 will remain still. This Nephilim Jet Fighter is going to pivot up to 90 degrees to its left, and then it will move up the board at least 20 inches but no more than 50. And it will finish its movement right here. This Nephilim Jet Fighter will now pivot up to 90 degrees to its right and move up the board at least 20 inches but no more than 50. And it will finish its movement right there. This squad of Tactical Marines sitting on Objective Marker 3 will remain still. This Predator will also remain still. This squad of Ravenwing Black Knights will have the Sergeant and these 2, who are within 18 inches of that Great and Clean one, remain still, while these 3 will move and reposition to get within 18 inches. And so now all 6 are within 18 inches of this Great Unclean one. This Ravenwing Talon Master is now going to move to reposition. And it will finish its movement right here, making sure to stay within 6 inches of the Ravenwing Black Knights, the Predator, and the Tactical Marines. So going into the shooting phase, we will begin with this squad of Ravenwing Black Knights, which will fire everything that they have into this Great Unclean one. The 3 models that moved will fire standard shots, while the 3 models that stood still will fire supercharged shots. And the Dark Angels are going to use the stratagem Weapons from the Dark Age for 1 command point, bring them from 8 down to 7. Use this stratagem just before a Dark Angels unit from your army attacks in your shooting phase. Increase the damage characteristic of that unit's plasma weapons by 1 until the end of the phase. For the purpose of the stratagem, a plasma weapon is any weapon profile whose name includes the word plasma. And so we will begin with the 3 models that stood still and their supercharged weapons, which means we will have to roll them 1 at a time. So first, the 2 shots from the Sergeant hitting on 3s, getting 1 hit and 1 miss. Now the first normal Ravenwing Black Knight getting 2 hits, and the second Ravenwing Black Knight getting a hit and a 1, which will be re-rolled. So re-rolling thanks to sitting still and getting another hit. So, and we will have to do the ones that stood still separately while wounding from the ones who moved because they are a different strength. So strength 8 from the supercharged weapons against the toughness 7 of the Great and Clean one. So wounding on 3s, re-rolling 1s thanks to the Ravenwing Talon Master, getting 4 wounds and 1 fail. And the Dark Angels are going to use 1 command point for a command re-roll going from 7 down to 6. to reroll the 2. And here's the reroll, still failing to wound. 4 5-up invulnerable saves, passing 1 but failing 3. And thanks to the stratagem and being supercharged, they are 3 damage apiece, so 9 5-up disgustingly resilient rolls, passing 4 and failing 5. So this Great Unclean One will fall from 18 starting wounds down to 13. And now the 6 shots from the 3 Ravenwing Black Knights who will be firing standard shots, hitting on 3s. No rerolls since they moved. Getting 5 hits. Strength 7 versus Toughness 7 means wounding on 4s, rerolling 1s. Getting 4 wounds and 1 reroll. And here's the 1 reroll. Getting a 5th wound. 5-up invulnerable saves. Passing 1 and failing 4. But they are 2 damage apiece thanks to the stratagem, so 8 5-up disgustingly resilient rolls. Passing 2 and failing 6. So the Great Unclean One will fall from 13 wounds down to 7. Next, this Predator is going to fire everything that it has into the Great Unclean One. 2 shots from the last cannons to start with, hitting on 3s, getting 1 hit. Strength 9 versus Toughness 7 means wounding on a 3 and failing to wound. 2 D3 shots from the Predator autocannon, getting 5 shots, hitting on 3s. Getting 4 hits. Strength 7 versus Toughness 7 means wounding on 4s, rerolling 1s. Getting 3 wounds. 3 5-up invulnerable saves. And fails all 3 of them. And the Chaos Demons of Nurgle will now use 1 command point, going from 9 down to 8 for a command reroll to reroll the 4. And here's the reroll, still failing the invulnerable save. 3 damage apiece, so 9 5-up disgustingly resilient rolls. Passing 3 and failing 6. So now the Great Unclean One will fall from 7 wounds down to 1 left. Next, the Plasma Cannon from this Tactical Marine Squad is going to fire supercharged shots into this Great Unclean One. D3 shots, getting 3 shots. Hitting on 3s, rerolling 1 since it stood still. Getting a hit and 2 rerolls. And here's the 2 rerolls. Getting all 3 hits. Strength 8 versus Toughness 7 means wounding on 3s, rerolling 1s, getting 2 wounds. 2 5-up invulnerable saves, passing 1 and failing 1. And it is 2 damage apiece, so 2 5-up disgustingly resilient rolls, and failing both. And so that will finish off the final wound from the Great Unclean One, and the Great Unclean One will be killed off for first blood. Since the Great Unclean One was killed off, there is now nothing within 24-inch range and visible to the Ravenwing Talon Master, but the Ravenwing Talon Master can still fire its 36-inch range twin heavy bolter into this squad of plague drones. Unfortunately, while this Demon Prince of Nurgle is visible to the Ravenwing Talon Master, it is slightly further away than the other squad of plague drones, this one right here, but they are completely non-visible to the Ravenwing Talon Master, so the Ravenwing Talon Master cannot shoot at these plague drones, but because they are closer, he is not allowed to target the Demon Prince, even though they're not visible. So he will fire his twin heavy bolter into this squad of plague drones. 6 shots, hitting on 3s, getting 5 hits. Strength 5 versus Toughness 5 means wounding on 5s, rerolling 1s. And sorry, wounding on 4s, rerolling 1s, but getting only 3 wounds. 3 5-up armor saves, 3 5-up invulnerable saves, words are difficult, passing 2 and failing 1. Only 1 damage, so 1 5-up disgustingly resilient roll, which also passes. This Nephilim jet fighter will now fire everything that it has into this squad of plague drones. 2 shots from the Black Sword missile launchers, hitting on 3s, getting 1 hit. Strength 7 versus Toughness 5 means wounding on a 3, getting 1 wound. 1 5-up invulnerable save, which passes. 10 shots from the Avenger Mega Bolter, hitting on 3s, getting 7 hits. Strength 6 versus Toughness 5 means wounding on 3s, getting 5 wounds. 5 5-up invulnerable saves, failing all 5. 1 damage apiece, so 5 5-up disgustingly resilient rolls, passing 1 and failing 4. Plague drones have 4 wounds apiece, so 1 plague drone is wiped out. 6 shots from the twin heavy bolter, hitting on 3s, getting 2 hits. Strength 5 versus Toughness 5 means wounding on 4s, getting 1 wound. 1 5-up invulnerable save, which passes. And now this Nephilim jet fighter Redeemer will fire everything that it has into this squad of plague drones. 2 shots from the Black Sword missile launchers hitting on 3s, getting 1 hit. Strength 7 versus Toughness 5 means wounding on a 3, and it fails to wound. 10 shots with the Avenger Mega Bolter hitting on 3s, getting 7 hits. Strength 6 versus Toughness 5 means wounding on 3s, getting 4 wounds. 4 5-up invulnerable saves, passing 3, failing 1. 1 damage apiece, so 1 5-up disgustingly resilient roll, which fails. So this plague drone in the back will fall from 4 starting wounds down to 3. 6 shots from the twin heavy bolter hitting on 3s, getting 4 hits. Strength 5 versus Toughness 5, wounding on 4s, getting 2 wounds. 2 5-up invulnerable saves, passing 1 and failing 1. 1 damage piece, so 1 5-up disgustingly resilient roll, which passes. This Land Raider Redeemer will now fire its twin assault cannon into this squad of plague drones. 12 shots hitting on 3s, getting 6 hits. Strength 6 versus Toughness 5 means wounding on 3s, getting 5 wounds. 5 5-up invulnerable saves, passing 1 and failing 4. 1 damage apiece, so 5 5-up disgustingly resilient rolls, and failing all 4 of them. So the wounded plague drone will lose its 3 remaining wounds and be killed off, and then the final regular plague drone will fall from 4 starting wounds down to 3. Next, the plasma cannon from this tactical marine squad will fire supercharged shots into this squad of plague drones. D3 shots, getting 1 shot, hitting on a 3, rerolling 1s, and getting a reroll. Here's the reroll, getting a hit. Strength 8 versus Toughness 5 means wounding on a 3, and it wounds. 1 5-up invulnerable save, which passes. Finally, the plasma cannon from this tactical marine squad is going to fire supercharged shots into this squad of plague drones. D3 shots, getting 1 shot, hitting on a 3, and it hits. Strength 8 versus Toughness 5 means wounding on a 3, and it fails to wound. Going into the assault phase, there are no charges to declare. Therefore, going into the fight phase, there are no fights to resolve. But going into the morale phase, this squad of plague drones did lose 2 models this turn, and they only have a leadership of 7, so it is possible for them to fail. And they are not within 6 inches of a greater demon, so they cannot use someone else's leadership of 10. Unfortunately, the demon princes do not count as greater demons, so they will have to take a morale check. And so on a 6, they will fail and lose 1 additional model, but on a 1, thanks to their demonic icon, they will get a slain model back. So here's their morale check roll, and that was almost a 1, rolling a 3, so they pass and nothing happens. And so taking a look at the tactical objective cards, they did kill an enemy model that had at least 10 wounds, so they do complete Big Game Hunter for 1 victory point. They also did successfully secure Objective 6 for 1 victory point, and they will have to wait until the end of their next turn in order to complete not 1 step back, but they will hold on to it.
And so at the end of Dark Angels turn 1, the score currently sits at 3 victory points for the Dark Angels thanks to First Blood, and 3 victory points for the Chaos Demons of Nurgle. Going into Chaos Demons of Nurgle turn 2, a reminder that the Chaos Demons of Nurgle have 8 command points available, and the Dark Angels have 6 command points available.
A reminder that the Chaos Demons of Nurgle held on to the tactical objective cards Secure Objective 3 from the previous turn, and so they drew 2 new tactical objective cards to get them up to a total of 3, and they drew Secure Objective 5, score 1 victory point if you control Objective Marker 5 at the end of your turn, and Defend Objective 3. Score 2 victory points if you control Objective Marker 3 at the end of 2 consecutive turns. And so a reminder that Objective Marker 3 is this one right here, currently being held by a squad of tactical marines within the Dark Angel deployment zone. And Objective Marker 5 is this one right here in the middle, which is currently being held by some Chaos Demon of Nurgle plague drones. Going into the movement phase, this Great Unclean One with Corruption is going to move up the board up to 7 inches, and he will also declare an advance. And here's his advance roll, rolling a 6 for up to 13 inches of total movement. And the Great Unclean One with Corruption will finish his movement right here. Next, Rodigus is going to move up the board up to 7 inches, and he will also declare an advance. And here's Rodigus's advance roll, rolling a 5 for up to 12 inches of total movement. and Rodriguez will finish his movement right here. This squad of Plague Bearers sitting on Objective Marker 1 will remain still. This squad of Plague Bearers sitting on Objective Marker 4 will also remain still. This squad of Plague Drones is going to move up the board up to 10 inches. And so the Plague Drones will end up right here. This Demon Prince of Nurgle is going to move up the board up to 12 inches. And he will finish his movement right here. This Demon Prince of Nurgle is now going to move over in this direction up to 12 inches to get behind the Plague Drones. And he will finish his movement right here. This squad of Plague Drones is now going to move up the board up to 10 inches, and they will also declare an advance. And here's their advance roll. Rolling a 6, and they will get to add 1 thanks to their instrument for a total of 7 inches of advance for 17 inches of total movement. And they will finish their movement right here. Finally, this squad of Plague Bearers will march up the board up to 5 inches towards Objective Marker 5, and they will also declare an advance. And here's their advance roll, getting 1 additional inch for up to 6 inches of total movement. And they will finish their movement like so, and they are now within 3 inches of the center of Objective Marker 5. Going into the Psychic phase, we will begin with this Chaos Demon Prince of Nurgle, casting Fleshy Abundance onto the squad of Plague Drones in front of him. Fleshy Abundance has a warp charge value of 5, and he fails with a 4. But the Chaos Demons of Nurgle are going to use 1 command point, going from 8 down to 7, to use a command reroll to reroll one of the 2s. And here's the reroll, now getting it with a 6, and the Dark Angels have no Deny the Witch capabilities. And Fleshy Abundance does grant a regeneration of D3 wounds, however, there is only 1 wounded model in the squad who only lost 1 wound in the previous turn. And so they only need to get 1 wound back, so the 1 wounded Plague Drone will go back up from 3 wounds to 4. Next, the other Demon Prince of Nurgle will attempt to manifest Smite onto this squad of Ravenwing Black Knights. And Smite has a warp charge value of 5, and it successfully passes with a 7. And it will do D3 mortal wounds, and it will do 2 mortal wounds. Ravenwing Black Knights have 2 wounds apiece, and so 1 regular Ravenwing Black Knight will be killed off. Next, the Great Unclean One armed with Corruption will attempt to manifest Smite onto the Land Raider Redeemer, since it is the closest visible enemy unit. Smite now has a warp charge value of 6, and he does get it with a 6. This will cause D3 mortal wounds, and it will cause 2 mortal wounds. The Dark Angels will now use the stratagem, the Armor of Contempt, for 1 command point, bringing them from 6 down to 5. Use this stratagem when a Dark Angel's vehicle from your army suffers a mortal wound. Roll a d6 for that mortal wound and each other mortal wound inflicted on this model for the rest of the phase. On a 5-up, that mortal wound is ignored. So looking for 2 5-ups, passing 1 and failing 1, so only suffering 1 mortal wound. So the Land Raider Redeemer will fall from 15 wounds down to 14. Next, and finally, Rodriguez will attempt to manifest Miasma of Pestilence onto the Great Unclean One with Corruption, and Rodriguez will also attempt to manifest Smite onto the Land Raider Redeemer. Beginning with Miasma of Pestilence, which has a warp charge value of 6, and he successfully passes with a 6. So the Dark Angels must subtract 1 from all hit rolls that target the Great Unclean One with Corruption until the start of the next Chaos Demon of Nurgle Psychic phase. And now for Smite, which has a warp charge value of 7, and it passes with a 9. And since Rodriguez passed that psychic test with a 7 or more, thanks to his special ability, Deluge of Nurgle, he will deal a mortal wound onto the closest enemy unit, which is also the Land Raider Redeemer. So D3 mortal wounds from Smite, which will do just 1, however, adding an extra 1 thanks to the ability Deluge of Nurgle. So the Land Raider Redeemer will use the Armor of Contempt to attempt to deny both mortal wounds at the same time. So looking for 2 5-ups, passing 1 and failing 1. So 1 additional mortal wound will go through, which will drop the Land Raider Redeemer from 14 wounds down to 13. Moving on into the shooting phase, thanks to their Death's Heads being assault weapons, this squad of Plague Drones can still shoot even though they advance this turn, and so these 3 in the front and this one in the middle of the back are within 12 inches of range to fire at this squad of Ravenwing Black Knights. 2 shots apiece for 8 shots total, hitting on 5 since they advanced, but rerolling 1s thanks to the Demon Prince, getting 3 hits and 2 rerolls. And here's the 2 rerolls, failing to get any more hits. Strength 4 versus Toughness 5 means wounding on 5s, rerolling 1s, getting a wound, a definite fail, and a reroll. And here's the reroll, getting a second wound. No AP, so 2 3-up armor saves, and failing both. Now that it's the shooting phase, the Dark Angels are going to use 1 command point going from 5 down to 4 for a command reroll in order to reroll the 2. And here's the reroll, which still fails, so 2 will go through. They are only 1 damage apiece, however, so that will only kill off 1 more Ravenwing Black Knight. Finally, this squad of Plague Drones in the back will fire into this squad of Ravenwing Black Knights. However, this 1 Plague Drone in the far back is not within 12 inches of range, so only these 3 will be able to fire. 6 shots, hitting on 4s, rerolling 1s. Wow, that's a bad hit roll. Failing to hit and getting only 1 reroll. And here's the reroll, getting 1 hit. Strength 4 versus Toughness 5 means wounding on a 5, rerolling 1s, getting 1 wound. 1 3-up armor save, which fails, so 1 Ravenwing Black Knight will fall from 2 wounds down to 1. Going into the assault phase, there are 2 charges to declare. First of which is this Demon Prince of Nurgle will declare a charge into this slightly injured squad of Ravenwing Black Knights, and this squad of Plague Drones will also declare a charge into this squad of Ravenwing Black Knights. We will begin with the Demon Prince of Nurgle. For the purpose of Overwatch, the 1 wounded Ravenwing Black Knight is the only model left alive who had moved in the previous phase, so he will fire standard shots, while the 3 fully healthy Ravenwing Black Knights all remain still in their previous movement phase, so they will all fire supercharged shots. So, beginning with the 2 standard shots from the 1 Ravenwing Black Knight who had moved, hitting on 6s, rerolling nothing, no rerolls since he did move, but getting 1 hit. Strength 7 versus Toughness 6 means wounding on a 3, and it wounds. 1 5-up invulnerable save, which passes. So now for the 3 who will fire supercharged shots, they still have to be done separately, since rolls of 1 after rerolls will kill models. So beginning with the Sergeant, hitting on 6s, rerolling 1s, getting a miss and a reroll, and here's the reroll, which still fails to hit. The first regular Black Knight, hitting on 6s, rerolling 1s, failing to hit. And the second Ravenwing Black Knight, hitting on 6s, rerolling 1s, getting a hit and a reroll. And here's the reroll. Still failing to hit, but not rolling another 1. Strength 8 versus Toughness 6 means wounding on a 3, rerolling 1s thanks to the Talon Master and getting a wound. 1 5-up invulnerable save, which fails. Since it is supercharged, 2 damage, so 2 5-up disgustingly resilient rolls, passing 1 and failing 1. So the Demon Prince of Nurgle will fall from 8 starting wounds down to 7. And here's his charge range, getting 9 inches. And it is only about 9.5 inches between the Demon Prince and this Ravenwing Black Knight, which means he does not have to charge through a crater, and so he will make it into combat. And the Demon Prince of Nurgle is now locked in combat with the Ravenwing Black Knights. Finally, the Plague Drones will charge in. They will not have to suffer Overwatch since the Ravenwing Black Knights are now locked in combat. However, they are charging through a crater, so they will have to subtract 2 from this charge roll, but then they can add 1 thanks to their instrument. So subtracting 1 from this charge roll, and so they rolled an 11, subtracting 2 but adding 1 back means they will have 10 inches of charge. And that will be more than enough. And the Plague Drones will now be locked in combat, and all will be able to attack. And so the Demon Prince will fight first. 7 attacks from the Demon Prince with his 2 sets of Malefic Talons, hitting on 2s, rerolling 1s. Getting 5 hits and 2 rerolls. And here's the rerolls, getting all 7 hits. Strength 7 versus Toughness 5 means wounding on 3s. Getting 4 wounds. Minus 2 AP, so 4 5-up armor saves. Failing all 4. And the Dark Angels will use 1 command point going from 4 down to 3 for a command reroll in order to reroll the 4. And here's the reroll, which still fails. So all 4 fail. And they are 2 damage apiece, and so all 4 Ravenwing Black Knights will be killed off. And so the Demon Prince of Nurgle with wings will not consolidate in order to not put itself more out in the open than it already is. The Plague Drones are no longer in combat now that the Ravenwing Black Knights have been killed off, and therefore they cannot be chosen to do anything in the fight phase. Moving into the morale phase, there are no morale checks to take as the Ravenwing Black Knights were completely wiped out. So taking a look at the tactical objective cards, Chaos Demons of Nurgle failed to secure Objective 3. They did, however, successfully secure Objective 5 for 1 victory point, and obviously they failed to defend Objective 3. At this point, Chaos Demons of Nurgle will elect to throw Defend Objective 3 away.
And so, at the end of Chaos Demons of Nurgle turn 2, Chaos Demons of Nurgle have a score of 4 victory points, and the Dark Angels have 3 victory points. Going into Dark Angels turn 2, a reminder that the Dark Angels have 3 command points available, and the Chaos Demons of Nurgle have 7 command points available.
A reminder that the Dark Angels held on to the tactical objective card not 1 step back from the previous turn, and so the Dark Angels drew 2 new ones to bring them up to a total of 3, and they drew behind enemy lines. Score 1 victory point if you have at least 1 unit completely within the enemy's deployment zone at the end of your turn. If you have at least 3 units within your opponent's deployment zone at the end of your turn, score D3 victory points instead. Unfortunately, the Nephilim Jet Fighters, which are flyers, do not count for that. They cannot hold that, since they are not allowed to hold objectives either. And defend Objective 3. Score 2 victory points if you control Objective Marker 3 at the end of 2 consecutive turns. And of course, a reminder that Objective Marker 3 is this one right here, currently being held by a squad of Tactical Marines. So going into the movement phase, for Dark Angels turn 2, this Predator will remain still. This squad of Tactical Marines will also remain still. The Ravenwing Talonmaster is going to move up the board over in this direction. He can move up to 16 inches, but he will move less than 12. And he will finish his movement right here. Next, this Nephilim Jet Fighter is going to pivot up to 90 degrees to its right, and it will move up the board at least 20 inches, but no more than 50. And it will finish its movement right here. Next, this Nephilim Jet Fighter will pivot up to 90 degrees to its left and move up the board at least 20 inches, but no more than 50. And it will finish its movement like so. This will mean that the Demon Prince of Nurgle is the closest visible enemy unit, and the closest enemy unit in general, visible or non-visible. This squad of Tactical Marines will remain still. This squad of Tactical Marines will also remain still. The Deathwing Knights and Belial, who are currently embarked inside of the Land Raider, will disembark. And they will disembark like so. Now the Deathwing Knights will move up to 5 inches up the board, and they will finish their movement like so. And now Belial will also move 5 inches up the board to join them. Right to there. Finally, the Land Raider Redeemer, since it is still in its highest tier on its damage chart, can move up to 10 inches, but it's really only going to move up about 5 to be right behind the Deathwing Knights and Belial, like so. Going into the shooting phase, we will first resolve this Nephilim Jet Fighter, firing everything that it has into this Demon Prince. Starting with the 2 shots from the Black Sword missile launchers, hitting on 2s. Sorry, hitting on 3s. 2 shots hitting on 3s, getting 2 hits. Strength 7 versus Toughness 6 means wounding on 3s, getting 2 wounds. Minus 3 AP, so 2 5-up invulnerable saves, and failing both. 2 damage apiece, so 4 5-up disgustingly resilient rolls, passing 1 and failing 3. So the Demon Prince will fall from 8 starting wounds down to 5. 10 shots from the Avenger Mega Bolter, hitting on 3s, getting 6 hits. Strength 6 versus Toughness 6 means wounding on 4s, getting 3 wounds. Minus 1 AP means 3 4-up armor saves. Would have passed as invulns, getting 2 successful passes and 1 fail. 1 damage, so 1 5-up disgustingly resilient roll, which passes. 6 shots from the Twin Heavy Bolter, hitting on 3s, getting 6 hits. Strength 5 versus Toughness 6 means wounding on 5s, getting 2 wounds. Minus 1 AP, so 2 4-up armor saves, and passing both. Belial will now fire his Storm Bolter into the Great Unclean One. 4 shots, hitting on 2s but subtracting 1 thanks to Miasma of Pestilence, but of course modifiers happen before rerolls, so only rerolling the 1. And here's the reroll. Getting a second fail. Strength 4 versus Toughness 7 means wounding on 5s and failing to wound. Now the Land Raider Redeemer will fire everything that it has into the Great Unclean One with Corruption. Beginning with the 2 Flamestorm cannons, so 2 D6 shots, getting 10 shots. This weapon automatically hits, so 10 hits. Strength 6 versus Toughness 7 means wounding on 5s, getting 4 wounds. 4 5-up and vulnerable saves, passing 2 and failing 2. But they are 2 damage apiece, so 4 5-up disgustingly resilient rolls, passing 2 and failing 2. So the Great Unclean One with Corruption will fall from 18 starting wounds down to 16. 12 shots from the Twin Assault Cannon hitting on 4s, rerolling 1s, thanks to Miasma of Pestilence. Getting 7 hits and 2 rerolls. And here's the 2 rerolls. Getting 2 more hits for 9 hits total. Strength 6 versus Toughness 7 means wounding on 5s, getting 3 wounds. 3 5-up and vulnerable saves, passing 1 and failing 2. 1 damage apiece, so 2 5-up disgustingly resilient rolls, passing 1 and failing 1. So the Great Unclean One will fall from 16 wounds down to 15. Next, this Tactical Marine squad will fire everything that they have into the Great Unclean One with Corruption. All of the bolt guns are over 12 inches away, so each bolt gun will fire a single shot, and the Plasma Cannon will fire supercharged shots. 4 shots from the bolt guns, hitting on 3s, rerolling 1s since they stayed still, and getting 4 hits. Strength 4 versus Toughness 7 means wounding on 5s, and getting 2 wounds. 2 5-up and vulnerable saves, failing both. 1 damage apiece, so 2 5-up disgustingly resilient rolls, and failing both of those as well. So the Great Unclean One will fall from 15 wounds down to 13. Now for D3 supercharged shots, getting just 1 shot from the Plasma Cannon, hitting on a 3, failing to hit, but getting a reroll, and here's the reroll, and it hits. Strength 8 versus Toughness 7 means wounding on a 3, and it fails to wound. Next, this squad of Tactical Marines will do the exact same thing. All 4 bolt guns will fire a single shot at full range, and the Plasma Cannon will fire supercharged shots. Beginning with the 4 shots from the bolt guns, hitting on 3s, and rerolling 1s thanks to staying still. And here's the reroll, getting 4 hits. Strength 4 versus Toughness 7 means wounding on 5s and failing to wound. D3 supercharged shots from the Plasma Cannon, getting 3 shots. Hitting on 3s, rerolling 1s, getting 3 hits. Strength 8 versus Toughness 7 means wounding on 3s, getting 3 wounds. 3 5-up and vulnerable saves, passing 1 and failing 2. 2 damage apiece since they are supercharged, so 4 5-up disgustingly resilient rolls, passing 3 and only failing 1. So the Great Unclean One will fall from 13 wounds down to 12. This Predator is going to fire everything that it has into this Demon Prince of Nurgle since it is the closest enemy unit, and it's also visible. Starting with the 2 shots from the last cannons, hitting on 3s, getting 2 hits. Strength 9 versus Toughness 6 means wounding on 3s, rerolling 1s thanks to the Talon Master, and of course rolling a 2. Minus 3 AP, so 1 5-up and vulnerable save, which fails, and it will do D6 damage. It will do 3 damage. 3 5-up disgustingly resilient rolls, passing 2 and failing 1. So the Demon Prince will fall from 7 wounds down to 6. 2 D3 shots from the Predator autocannon, getting 6 shots. Hitting on 3s, getting 4 hits. Strength 7 versus Toughness 6 means wounding on 3s, rerolling 1s. Ooh, and that's bad. Getting 1 wound, 1 definite fail, and 2 rerolls. And here's the 2 rerolls. Still rolling double 1s and failing to get any more wounds. Minus 1 AP, so 1 4-up armor save, which passes of course. Now this Nephilim jet fighter will fire its Black Sword missile launchers and its Avenger Mega Bolter into the Demon Prince of Nurgle, and it will fire its twin Heavy Bolter into the wounded squad of Plague Drones. Starting with the 2 shots from the Black Sword missile launchers, hitting on 3s, getting 2 hits. Strength 7 versus Toughness 6 means wounding on 3s, rerolling 1s thanks to the Talon Master, of course rolling a 2, getting 1 wound. Minus 3 AP, so 1 5-up and vulnerable save, which passes. 10 shots from the Avenger Mega Bolter, hitting on 3s, getting 6 hits. Strength 6 versus Toughness 6 means wounding on 4s, rerolling 1s, getting 4 wounds. Minus 1 AP, so 4 4-up armor saves, passing 2 and failing 2. 1 damage apiece, so 2 5-up disgustingly resilient rolls, passing 1 and failing 1. So the Demon Prince will fall from 6 wounds down to 5. 6 shots from the Twin Heavy Bolter into the Plague Drones, hitting on 3s, getting 3 hits. Strength 5 versus Toughness 5 means wounding on 4s, rerolling 1s. 2, 5 up and vulnerable saves, failing both. 2, 5 up disgustingly resilient rolls, and failing both of those as well. And so the 1 regular Plague Drone at the back will fall from 4 starting wounds down to 2. The Ravenwing Talon Master is going to do something similar. It will fire its twin assault cannon into the Demon Prince, and it will fire its twin heavy bolter into the squad of wounded Plague Drones. 12 shots from the twin assault cannon, hitting on 3s, getting 8 hits. Strength 6 versus Toughness 6 means wounding on 4s, rerolling 1s, and getting 8 wounds. Minus 1 AP, so 8 4-up armor saves, passing 4 and failing 4. 1 damage apiece, so 4 5-up disgustingly resilient rolls, and passing 3 of those, only failing 1. So the Demon Prince will fall from 5 wounds down to 4. 6 shots from the Twin Heavy Bolter, hitting on 3s, getting 5 hits. Strength 5 versus Toughness 5 means wounding on 4s, rerolling 1s, and getting 5 wounds. 5 5-up and vulnerable saves, passing 1 and failing 4. 4 5-up disgustingly resilient rolls, passing 1 and failing 3. And so that will finish off the 1 wounded Plague Drone, who's down to 2 wounds. And then the instrument will fall from 4 wounds down to 3 left.
So now the only thing left to shoot is this squad of Tactical Marines. Unfortunately for the Plasma Cannon and the 2 bolters that are up higher, the Plague Drones are closer to them than the Demon Prince is, so they will only be able to shoot the Plague Drones. And so because of that, in an attempt to do more wounds to the Plague Drones, we will just have everything shoot the Plague Drones. So we have 1 bolter in rapid fire range, the Sergeant and 2 regular bolters at full range, and the Plasma Cannon will fire supercharged shots.
And in order to try to do as much damage as possible, the Dark Angels will use the stratagem Weapon from the Dark Age for 1 command point, bringing them from 3 down to 2, which states, as we've read it before, that all plasma weapons will do +1 damage. But first, the bolt guns, and thanks to the 1 regular bolt gun being within rapid fire range, we have 5 shots from the squad, hitting on 3s, getting 3 hits. Strength 4 versus Toughness 5 means wounding on 5s, getting 1 wound. 1 5-up invulnerable save, which passed anyways. Now for D3 shots from the Plasma Cannon, getting just 1 shot, and so the Dark Angels are going to use a command reroll, which will take them from 2 command points down to 1. So we are going to reroll the 1, and here's the reroll for the number of shots, and still rolling a 1 anyways. So 1 shot, hitting on a 3, getting a hit. Strength 8 versus Toughness 5 means wounding on a 3, and it wounds. 1 5-up invulnerable save, which fails. Since it is supercharged, it will do 3 damage instead of 2, so 3 5-up disgustingly resilient rolls, and the Chaos Demons of Nurgle fail all 3. And so that will kill off the instrument, who is down to 3 wounds. So now moving along into the assault phase, we will have this squad of Deathwing Knights declare a charge onto the Great Unclean One with Corruption, and Belial will also declare a charge onto the Great Unclean One with Corruption. So now the Deathwing Knights will roll for their charge. The Great Unclean One has no Overwatch, and so the Deathwing Knights will get 8 inches. And so the Deathwing Knights will wrap them around like so. 2 over here, 3 over there. They are within 2 inches of coherency here in the middle, but this way it leaves enough space for Belial to make it into combat. And here's Belial's charge, getting 12 inches, more than enough. And so Belial will make it into combat, base to base. And so at the beginning of the fight phase, the Chaos Demons of Nurgle are going to use the 2 stratagems Warp Surge and Locus of Fecundity for 2 command points apiece for 4 total, which will take them from 7 down to 3. Both of these stratagems will be placed onto the Great Unclean One with Corruption, who is in combat with the Deathwing Knights and Belial. Warp Surge states use this stratagem at the start of any phase, select a unit of demons until the end of the phase. You cannot reroll saving throws for this unit, but its invulnerable save is improved by 1 to a maximum of 3 up. So the Great Unclean One will have a 4-up invulnerable save now. And the Locust stratagem states use this stratagem at the start of any phase, select a Nurgle demon character from your army until the end of the phase. You can reroll disgustingly resilient rolls of 1 made for friendly Nurgle demon units within 6 inches of the model. So now the Deathwing Knights will strike first. Beginning with the Knight Master and his Flail of the Unforgiven, 3 attacks, hitting on 4s thanks to Miasma of Pestilence, re-rolling 1s and 2s. So of course rolling a 3, getting only 2 hits. Strength 6 versus Toughness 7 means wounding on 5s, getting 1 wound. So now 1 4-up invulnerable save, which fails, and it will do 2 damage, so 2 5-up Disgustingly Resilient rolls, and failing both of those as well. So the Great Unclean One will fall from 12 wounds down to 10. Now for the 4 regular Deathwing Knights and their Maces of Absolution. 8 attacks hitting on 4s, rerolling 1s and 2s, getting 6 hits and 2 rerolls. And here's the 2 rerolls, still failing to hit. Strength 8 versus Toughness 7 means wounding on 3s, getting 3 wounds and 3 fails. The Dark Angels are going to use 1 command point going from 1 down to 0 for a command reroll to reroll the 2. And here's the reroll, getting a 4th wound. 4 4-up invulnerable saves, thanks to Warp Surge, passing 2 and failing 2. But they are 3 damage apiece, so 6 5-up Disgustingly Resilient rolls, passing 2, failing 3, and getting 1 reroll thanks to the Locust stratagem. And here's the reroll, failing a 4th one. So the Great Unclean One will fall from 10 wounds down to 6 left. And now the Chaos Demons of Nurgle will use the stratagem counter-offensive for 2 command points, bring them from 3 down to 1 left. This stratagem is used right after an enemy unit that charged has fought. Select one of your own eligible units and fight with the next. Obviously, that will be the Great Unclean One with Corruption. And so the Great Unclean One will use Corruption, and because he's down to 6 wounds, he only has 4 attacks base instead of his normal 5. So 4 attacks with Corruption, all of which will be placed onto Belial. Hitting on 2s. Thanks to Belial's special ability, Parrying Blade, Chaos Demons of Nurgle will have to subtract 1 from hit rolls in the fight phase. So actually only hitting on 3s, which means 3 hits and 1 fail. However, now the Chaos Demons of Nurgle are going to use their last command point going from 1 down to 0 for a command reroll to reroll the 2. And here's the reroll, and they pass, getting 4 hits total. Strength 8, thanks to Corruption, versus Toughness 4, means wounding on 2s, and re-rolling thanks to Corruption, getting 3 wounds and 1 reroll. And here's the reroll, getting a 4th wound. Minus 3 AP, so 4 4-up invulnerable saves, passing 2 and failing 2. And these do D3 damage apiece, and that will be 4 damage. So Belial will fall from 6 starting wounds down to 2. And now for the Attendant's Claws and Teeth, D6 additional attacks, getting 5 attacks, hitting on 2s but subtracting 1 for Parrying Blade, so actually hitting on 3s and getting 5 hits. Strength 2 versus Toughness 4 means wounding on 6s, rerolling 1s, getting 1 wound. Now before I roll for Belial's armor save, I just want to point out that this has no AP, so Belial will have his 2-up armor save. However, thanks to the Locus of Virulence on the Great Unclean One, because he rolled a wound roll of 6 up, if it goes through, it will inflict 1 additional damage for 2 damage total. So if Belial fails his 2-up armor save, he is slain, and neither side has any command points left. So Belial, 1 2-up armor save, and he passes. So now the Sword of Silence from Belial, 4 attacks hitting on 3s, rerolling 1s, thanks to Miasma of Pestilence, getting 3 hits. This weapon always wounds on a 2-up. And apparently I can't get the dice in the tray. Getting 3 wounds. 3 4-up invulnerable saves. Once again, failing to get all the dice in the tray, but getting 2 passes with the invulnerable save. However, it does do 2 damage, so 2 5-up Disgustingly Resilient rolls, passing 1 and failing 1. So the Great Unclean One will fall from 6 wounds down to 5. Going into the morale phase, this squad of Plague Drones lost 2 models this turn, so they will have to take a morale check with their leadership of 7. Thanks to their demonic icon, however, on a roll of a 1 for their morale check, they will get a slain model back. So on a 6 they fail, and on a 1 they get a model back, and they pass with a 5. Nothing happens. So taking a look at the tactical objective cards, because it is the proper turn, they did successfully complete not 1 step back for 1 victory point. They have not completed behind enemy lines, and they are now 1 turn into defending objective 3. And at this point, the Dark Angels will throw behind enemy lines away.
And so at the end of Dark Angels turn 2, the score currently sits at 4 victory points for the Dark Angels and 4 victory points for the Chaos Demons of Nurgle. Going into Chaos Demons of Nurgle turn 3, a reminder that the Chaos Demons of Nurgle have 0 command points available, and the Dark Angels also have 0 command points available.
Also a reminder that the Chaos Demons of Nurgle held on to the tactical objective cards Secure Objective 3 from the previous turn, and so they drew 2 new tactical objective cards, and they drew Assassinate, score 1 victory point if at least 1 enemy character was destroyed during this turn. If 3 or more enemy characters were destroyed during this turn, score D3 victory points instead. And Scour the Skies, score 1 victory point if at least 1 enemy unit that can fly was destroyed during this turn. So going into the movement phase, this squad of Plague Bearers sitting on Objective Marker 1 will remain still. This squad of Plague Bearers sitting on Objective Marker 4 will also remain still. This squad of Plague Bearers sitting on Objective Marker 5 is going to march up the board up to 5 inches to better hold the objective marker. And the Plague Bearers are now sitting like so. The objective marker is right underneath this Plague Bearer here on the edge. This squad of Plague Drones is now going to move up the board up to 10 inches. And they will finish their movement like so, just over an inch away from the Nephilim jet fighter, which means that even though they would be charging through a crater, if they do charge the Nephilim jet fighter in the assault phase, thanks to their instrument and adding 1 to their charge range, they will automatically make it in, because they are guaranteed at least 1 inch of charge. This Demon Prince of Nurgle is now going to move up to 12 inches, but really only about 4 to be just over an inch away from the Nephilim jet fighter right about here. And he will finish his movement right here. Next, this squad of 2 Plague Drones is going to move up the board up to 10 inches to get closer to that squad of Tactical Marines on Objective Marker 3. And they will finish just over an inch away. The Great Unclean One, armed with Corruption, will remain locked in combat with the Deathwing Knights and Belial. Rodigus is now going to move up to 7 inches over in this direction in order to put himself into position to charge the Deathwing Knights. And Rodigus will finish his movement right here, just over an inch away from one of the Deathwing Knights. Finally, this Demon Prince of Nurgle over here is going to move up to 12 inches over to here in order to be able to set himself up for a charge on the Deathwing Knights as well. And he will finish his movement right here. Going into the Psychic phase, we will begin with this Demon Prince of Nurgle attempting to manifest Fleshy Abundance onto the Great Unclean One with Corruption. And Fleshy Abundance has a warp charge value of 5, and he gets it with a 6. No Deny the Witch, so it will go off, and so it will regenerate D3 wounds onto the Great Unclean One, and it will regenerate 2 wounds. So the Great Unclean One with Corruption will go back up from 5 wounds to 7. Next, the other Demon Prince of Nurgle will attempt to manifest Smite onto this Nephilim jet fighter. And Smite has a warp charge value of 5, and he gets it with a 7. D3 mortal wounds, and it will cause 2 mortal wounds. So the Nephilim jet fighter will fall from 10 starting wounds down to 8. Next, the Great Unclean One with Corruption will attempt to manifest Nurgle's Rot. If it is successful, it will affect all units, excluding Nurgle units within 7 inches, which will be Belial, the Deathwing Knights, the Land Raider Redeemer, and the Nephilim jet fighter with white and red wings. This one right here. Nurgle's Rot has a warp charge value of 7, and it fails with a 6. The Great Unclean One will now attempt to manifest Stream of Corruption, which goes on to the closest visible enemy unit. Belial and the Deathwing Knights are both in base to base, so since they are equidistant, the Great Unclean One can choose, and he will choose to attempt to manifest it onto Belial. So Stream of Corruption has a warp charge value of 5, and he gets it with a 10. And it will do D3 mortal wounds, and it will do 2 mortal wounds. And unfortunately for the Dark Angels, there's nothing they can do about that, so Belial is killed off for Slay the Warlord. Next, Rodigus will attempt to manifest Miasma of Pestilence onto the Great Unclean One, and he will attempt to manifest Virulent Blessing onto the Demon Prince of Nurgle. Beginning with Miasma of Pestilence onto the Great Unclean One, which has a warp charge value of 6, and it passes with a 6. And now for Virulent Blessing onto the Demon Prince of Nurgle, which has a warp charge value of 7, which fails with a 6. Going into the shooting phase for Chaos Demons of Nurgle turn 3,
3. This squad of plague drones is going to fire their death's heads into the squad of tactical marines.
4 shots hitting on 4s, rerolling 1s, thanks to the Demon Prince being within 6 inches. Getting 2 hits, 1 definite miss, and 1 reroll. And here's the reroll, still failing to hit. Strength 4 versus Toughness 4 means wounding on 4s, rerolling 1s, getting 1 wound. No AP, but +1 thanks to the ruin, so 1 2-up armor save, which passes. Now this squad of plague drones will fire all of their death's heads into the Nephilim jet fighter. 12 shots hitting on 5s, and rerolling 1s thanks to the Demon Prince. Getting 1 hit and 2 rerolls. And here's the rerolls, getting 1 additional hit. Strength 4 versus Toughness 6 means wounding on 5s, rerolling 1s, and failing to wound. Going into the assault phase, we have 5 charges to declare. First is Rodigus declaring a charge onto the Deathwing Knights. Second is that Demon Prince of Nurgle with wings declaring a charge onto the Deathwing Knights. Third is this squad of 2 plague drones declaring a charge onto the Tactical Marines. Fourth is the second Demon Prince of Nurgle declaring a charge onto the Nephilim jet fighter. And 5 is the squad of 6 plague drones declaring a charge onto the Nephilim jet fighter. We will begin with the squad of 6 plague drones declaring their charge onto the Nephilim jet fighter. Starting with Overwatch from the 2 Black Sword missile launchers, hitting on 6s, getting 1 hit. Strength 7 versus Toughness 5 means wounding on a 3, and it wounds. 1 5-up invulnerable save, which fails. And it is 2 damage, so 2 5-up disgustingly resilient rolls, and failing both. So 1 regular plague drone in the back will fall from 4 starting wounds down to 2. 10 shots from the Avenger Mega Bolter, hitting on 6s, getting 3 hits. Strength 6 versus Toughness 5 means wounding on 3s and rerolling 1s, getting 3 wounds. 3 5-up invulnerable saves, failing all 3. 1 damage piece, so 3 5-up disgustingly resilient rolls, and failing all 3 of those as well. So the wounded plague drone in the back will lose its final 2 wounds and be removed, and then a second regular plague drone will fall from 4 starting wounds down to 3. This one right here. 6 shots from the Twin Heavy Bolter, hitting on 6s, getting 1 hit. Strength 5 versus Toughness 5 means wounding on 4s, rerolling 1s, thanks to the Ravenwing Talonmaster and getting a reroll. And here's the reroll, still failing to wound. And while we already know that they will automatically make it in, here's the charge range for the plague drones. Rolling a 9, which of course becomes an 8 after the -2 but +1, which will definitely make it in. So now they are all in combat. However, thanks to the crater that the Nephilim jet fighter is sitting in, the instrument right here and this normal plague drone over on the end should be in base to base with the Nephilim jet fighter, just like the plague drone Sergeant is, but because of the wall of the crater, they are not able to sit in base to base without falling over, so they will be moved around appropriately as necessary at the end if the Nephilim jet fighter is killed off. And now we will do the charge distance for the Demon Prince of Nurgle. And anything other than double 1s, getting very close with a 3, but since he is just over an inch away, he will be able to make it into combat. And the Demon Prince is now locked in combat as well. So now the squad of 2 plague drones will charge into the Tactical Marines. Starting with the Plasma Cannon, which will fire supercharged shots, and it gets D3 shots, getting 3 shots, hitting on 6s, rerolling 1s thanks to sitting still, and getting 2 hits. Strength 8 versus Toughness 5 means wounding on 3s and getting 1 wound. 1 5-up invulnerable save, which fails, and it is 2 damage, so 2 5-up disgustingly resilient rolls, passing 1 and failing 1. And so the Plague Drone Sergeant will fall from 4 starting wounds down to 3. 8 bolt gun shots hitting on 6s and rerolling 1s, failing to hit but getting 1 reroll. And here's the reroll, still failing to hit. And here's their charge distance, getting 8 inches. And so they finish their charge like so. They are now in combat with the Tactical Marines. The Sergeant did not move any further in order to stay within 6 inches of the Demon Prince. Now we will roll for the charge range for Rodigus. And here's his charge range, getting 8 inches. And Rodigus will be in base to base right here. Finally, we will do the charge range for the Demon Prince. And here's his charge range, getting 6 inches. And he will finish up right there. So going into the fight phase, we will begin with Rodigus. But we first actually have to resolve his crushing bulk at the end of the assault phase. So we will go back and do that on a 4-up. And so one enemy unit within an inch can be selected by Rodrigues to suffer a mortal wound, and obviously that will be the Deathwing Knight since they are the only unit within an inch. And while Rodrigues is over here on this side, since the unit wraps around the Great Unclean One, the Dark Angels are going to place the mortal wound on the Deathwing Knight over here in base to base with the Demon Prince in order to try to kill off the models on that side to knock the Demon Prince out of combat. So that Deathwing Knight will fall from 2 starting wounds down to 1. 5 attacks base with the Gnarl Rod, hitting on 2s, rerolling 1s thanks to the Demon Prince, being within 6 inches, getting 3 hits and 2 rerolls. And here's the 2 rerolls, hitting all 5 hits. Strength 8 versus Toughness 4 means wounding on 2s, getting 5 wounds, but no 6s. Minus 2 AP, so 5, 3 up invulnerable saves. Passing 2, but of course failing 3. And they are an automatic 3 damage apiece, but the damage does not carry over, but that will mean that the wounded Deathwing Knight will be killed off and 2 healthy Deathwing Knights will also be killed off, leaving only this regular Deathwing Knight and the Knight Master left alive. Now Rodrigues will attack with his Fanged Maw, and it does D6 additional attacks, getting 6 attacks of course. 6 attacks hitting on 2s, rerolling 1s, getting 5 hits and 1 reroll. And here's the reroll, getting a 6th hit. Strength 7 versus Toughness 4 means wounding on 3s, no rerolls, getting 5 wounds. Minus 1 AP, so 5, 3 up invulnerable saves, passing 3 but failing 2, and that will kill off the final regular Deathwing Knight. Finally, Rodrigues will attack with his Attendant's Claws and Teeth, D6 additional attacks, getting just 1 attack, hitting on a 2, rerolling 1s, getting a hit. Strength 2 versus Toughness 4 means wounding on a 6, rerolling 1s, and failing to wound. Now that Rodrigues is done fighting, he will consolidate up to 3 inches closer, right to there. This Demon Prince is no longer locked in combat and therefore cannot be chosen in the fight phase. Next, the other Demon Prince, however, will place his attacks onto the Nephilim Jet Fighter. 7 attacks, hitting on 2s, rerolling 1s, getting 7 hits. Strength 7 versus Toughness 6 means wounding on 3s, getting 4 wounds. Minus 2 AP, so 4, 5 up armor saves. And the Nephilim Jet Fighter fails all 4. They are 2 damage apiece, and the Nephilim Jet Fighter only has 8 wounds left, so the Nephilim Jet Fighter is killed off. Does it crash and burn on a 6? And it does not. So this Nephilim Jet Fighter will lose its 8 remaining wounds and be removed from the battlefield. The Demon Prince of Nurgle will not consolidate because he does not want to end up closer to the enemy units in order to make it harder to be targeted. So he will not consolidate. And now the squad of 6 Plague Drones is no longer locked in combat, and therefore they cannot be chosen in the fight phase. So the squad of 2 Plague Drones, which is the final charging unit on the Nurgle side, will now fight, placing all of their attacks onto the Tactical Marines. Starting with 3 attacks from their Plague Swords, hitting on 4s, rerolling 1s, thanks to the Demon Prince getting 2 hits and 1 reroll. And here's the reroll, still failing to hit. Strength 4 versus Toughness 4 means wounding on 4s, rerolling, getting a wound and a reroll. And here's the reroll, getting 2 wounds. No AP, and cover does not work in the fight phase, so 2 3-up armor saves. And what a difference that makes, getting 2 fails. So 2 regular Tactical Marines will go down. So now for the 8 attacks from the Prehensile Proboscis, hitting on 4s, rerolling 1s, getting 5 hits. Strength 4 versus Toughness 4 means wounding on 4s, rerolling everything, hitting 2 wounds and 3 rerolls. And here's the 3 rerolls, getting just 1 more wound. And there is a 6 in there, but that won't matter because the Tactical Marines are only 1 wound apiece. No AP, so 3 3-up armor saves. And of course, failing 2 of those. And unfortunately for the Dark Angels, because they will have to lose 2 more models, they will kill off the Plasma Cannon for 2 reasons. 1, in order to make it harder to fail a morale check, and 2, that Sergeant can deny Chaos Demons of Nurgle that objective marker. So now only the Sergeant is left alive in the squad. So now moving over to units that did not charge, starting with the Chaos Demons of Nurgle since it is their turn. The Great Unclean One with Corruption will attack first, onto the Knight Master. Since the Great Unclean One is at 7 wounds, he has 4 attacks base with Corruption, hitting on 2s, rerolling 1s thanks to the Demon Prince, getting 3 hits and 1 reroll. And here's the reroll, hitting a 4th hit. Strength 8 thanks to Corruption versus Toughness 4 means wounding on 2s, rerolling, Getting 4 wounds, and one of them is a 6, so it will add 1 damage. And that is important since they are D3 damage apiece, so we will do the 6 first because if that one goes through, it will do at least 2 damage minimum, so it will kill off the Knight Master. So 1 3-up invulnerable save against the wound roll of a 6, which passes, and now 3 3-up invulnerable saves against the normal wounds, and only one of those gets passed, passing 2. So it will do D3 damage, and it will do 3. So it will kill off the Knight Master, which means that now the squad of Deathwing Knights is finished off. Which means that the only unit left to fight is this squad of Tactical Marines, and so the Sergeant will pile in and fight against the Plague Drones. 2 attacks from the Sergeant, hitting on 3s, getting 2 hits. Strength 4 versus Toughness 5 means wounding on 5s, getting a wound. 1 5-up invulnerable save, which fails, and 1 5-up disgustingly resilient roll, which also fails. So the Plague Drone Sergeant will fall from 3 wounds down to 2. So now going into the morale phase, this squad of Plague Drones lost 1 model this turn, and so while they cannot fail because they have a leadership of 7, because of the icon, if they roll a 1, they will get the slain model back. And so here's their morale check roll, and they roll a 4, so they pass and nothing happens. Finally, this Tactical Marine squad has to roll for a morale check, and they did lose 4 models this turn. The Tactical Marine Sergeant does have a leadership of 8, however, so they would only fail on 5 or 6, and they pass with a 4. So now taking a look at the tactical objective cards, thanks to that Sergeant staying alive from the Tactical Marine squad, they failed to secure objective 3. However, thanks to killing off Belial, they do get 1 victory point for successfully completing Assassinate, and thanks to killing off the Nephilim Jet Fighter, they also achieve 1 victory point for Scour the Skies. And while they were not able to complete Secure Objective 3 this turn, because of the other squad of Plague Drones that is very close by, and the fact that that Troop Choice Tactical Marine squad is almost dead, I feel confident enough that the Chaos Demons of Nurgle will have a chance to complete that next turn, so they will hold onto Secure Objective 3 and not throw it away.
And so at the end of Chaos Demons of Nurgle, turn 3, the score currently sits at 7 victory points for the Chaos Demons of Nurgle, thanks to Slay the Warlord, and 4 victory points for the Dark Angels. Going into Dark Angels turn 3, a reminder that the Dark Angels have 0 command points available, and the Chaos Demons of Nurgle also have 0 command points available.
A reminder that the Dark Angels held on to the tactical objective card, defend objective 3 from the previous turn, and they are also 1 turn into holding that objective marker. And so the Dark Angels drew 2 new tactical objective cards, and of course they drew Secure Objective 3. Score 1 victory point if you control objective marker 3 at the end of your turn, and Master the Warp. Score 1 victory point if you manifested or denied a psychic power during this turn. If you manifested or denied 3 or more psychic powers, score D3 victory points instead.
Going into the movement phase, this Tactical Marine Sergeant is going to fall back out of combat, and he will fall back to here. He is now over an inch away from the Plague Drones, and he is still holding on to objective marker 3.
This Predator will remain still. The Ravenwing Talon Master is going to move up to 16 inches over to the other side of the Predator in order to be closer to the squad of 2 Plague Drones, and he will finish his movement right here, just over an inch away.
This squad of Tactical Marines sitting on objective marker 6 will remain still.
This squad of Tactical Marines will also remain still. This Land Raider Redeemer is now going to move backwards up to 10 inches in order to make it far more difficult for the Chaos Demons of Nurgle to charge it the next turn. And the Land Raider Redeemer will fall back to here. Finally, this Nephilim Jet Fighter is going to pivot up to 90 degrees to its left and then move up the board at least 20 inches but no more than 50. And it will finish its movement over here. Going into the shooting phase, the Ravenwing Talon Master is going to fire everything that it has into this squad of 2 Plague Drones. Beginning with the Twin Assault Cannon, 12 shots hitting on 3s, getting 8 hits. Strength 6 versus Toughness 5 means wounding on 3s. Getting 6 wounds. 6 5-up invulnerable saves. Passing 1 and failing 5. 1 damage apiece, so 5 5-up disgustingly resilient rolls. Passing 2, failing 2, and 1 cocked dice. And here's rerolling the cocked dice, which still fails, so failing 3 total. So that will finish off the 2 remaining wounds on the Plague Drone Sergeant, and that will mean also that the demonic icon will drop from 4 starting wounds down to 3 left. Now 6 shots from the Twin Heavy Bolt Bolter, hitting on 3s, getting 4 hits. Strength 5 versus Toughness 5 means wounding on 4s, rerolling 1s, getting 2 wounds, 1 definite fail, and 1 reroll. And here's the reroll, still failing to wound. 2 5-up and vulnerable saves, failing both. 1 damage apiece, so 2 5-up disgustingly resilient rolls, and failing both of those as well. So the demonic icon will now fall from 3 wounds down to 1 left. So now this tactical marine squad in the back will fire everything that they have into that lone plague drone who's down to 1 wound. The plasma cannon will fire supercharged shots. All 4 bolt guns will fire at full range. Starting with the 4 bolt guns, hitting on 3s, rerolling 1s, since they stood still, getting 4 hits. Strength 4 versus Toughness 5 means wounding on 5s, no rerolls, and all failed to wound. Now the plasma cannon firing D3 supercharged shots, getting 2 shots. Hitting on 3s, rerolling 1s, getting 2 hits. Strength 8 versus Toughness 5 means wounding on 3s, getting 2 wounds. 2 5-up and vulnerable saves, failing both. 2 damage apiece, since it is supercharged, means 4 5-up disgustingly resilient rolls, passing 1 and failing 3, which will be more than enough to finish off the Plague Drone squad. And now that that Plague Drone squad is finished off, this Predator can fire everything that it has into the Demon Prince of Nurgle, because the Demon Prince is slightly closer than any of these Plague Drones from this squad of 5. So starting off with the 2 shots from the last cannons, hitting on 3s, getting 2 hits. Strength 9 versus Toughness 6 means wounding on 3s, rerolling 1s, thanks to the Ravenwing Talonmaster, and getting 2 wounds. Minus 3 AP, so 2 5-up and vulnerable saves, failing 1 and passing 1. And it will do D6 damage, and it will do just 1 damage. 1 5-up disgustingly resilient, which passes, so no damage taken. Now for the Predator autocannon, 2 D3 shots, getting 3 shots, hitting on 3s, no rerolls, of course, getting only 1 hit. Strength 7 versus Toughness 6 means wounding on a 3, rerolling 1s, and rerolling the 1. Here's the reroll, getting 1 wound. Minus 1 AP, so 1 4-up armor save, which passes. So this Nephilim jet fighter will now fire everything that it has into the squad of plague drones. 2 shots from the Black Sword missile launchers, hitting on 3s, getting 2 hits. Strength 7 versus Toughness 5 means wounding on 3s, getting 1 wound. 1 5-up and vulnerable save, which passes. 10 shots from the Avenger Mega Bolter, hitting on 3s, getting 8 hits. Strength 6 versus Toughness 5 means wounding on 3s, getting 7 wounds. 7 5-up and vulnerable saves, passing 2 and failing 5. 1 damage apiece, so 5 5-up disgustingly resilient rolls, passing 2 and failing 3. And so that will finish off the 1 regular plague drone who is down to 3 wounds. Now for 6 shots from the Twin Heavy Bolter, hitting on 3s, getting 5 hits. Strength 5 versus Toughness 5 means wounding on 4s, getting 2 wounds. 2 5-up and vulnerable saves, and passing both. Next, this Tactical Marine squad will fire everything that they have into this Great Unclean One armed with Corruption. All 4 bolt guns will have to fire at full range, and the plasma cannon will fire supercharged shots. Starting with 4 shots from the bolt guns, hitting on 3s, rerolling 1s, since they stood still. Getting 3 hits. Sorry, getting 4 hits. Strength 4 versus Toughness 7 means 5-ups to wound. Getting 2 wounds, 2 fails. And I did misspeak, they were hitting on 4s, not 3s, rerolling 1s, thanks to Miasma of Pestilence successfully being manifested in the previous Chaos Demon of Nurgle Psychic phase, but all 4 did still hit. So 2 wounds means 2 5-up and vulnerable saves, passing 1 and failing 1. 1 damage apiece, so 1 5-up disgustingly resilient roll, which fails. So the Great Unclean One will fall from 7 wounds down to 6. And now D3 supercharged shots from the plasma cannon, getting only 1 of course. Hitting on a 3, rerolling 1s. Sorry, keep forgetting about Miasma of Pestilence. Hitting on 4s, rerolling 1s, which means that fails. So it does not hit. And finally, the Land Raider Redeemer, who is the only unit left to shoot, will fire his Twin Assault Cannon into the Great Unclean One with Corruption. 12 shots, hitting on 4s. We're going to remember that this time, no rerolls. Getting only 4 hits. Strength 6 versus Toughness 7 means wounding on 5s. getting 1 wound. 1 5-up invulnerable save, which fails. Only 1 damage, so 1 5-up disgustingly resilient, which also fails. So the Great Unclean One will fall back down from 6 wounds to 5. Going into the assault phase, there are no charges to declare, which means going into the fight phase, there are no fights to resolve. And going into the morale phase, this squad of plague drones right here did lose 1 model this turn, which means it's impossible for them to fail since they have leadership of 7. However, thanks to their demonic icon, on a roll of a 1, they will get the slain model back. And so here's their morale check roll, and they roll a 1, so they get their slain model back. And the slain model will be placed right here, where it was removed when it was killed off. And so taking a look at the tactical objective cards, the Dark Angels did successfully finish defending Objective 3 for 2 victory points. They also secured Objective 3 for 1 victory point, and they failed to complete Master the Warp, and since they have no Psychers, they will throw that one away.
And so at the end of Dark Angels turn 3, the score currently sits at 7 victory points for the Dark Angels and 7 victory points for the Chaos Demons of Nurgle. Going into Chaos Demons of Nurgle turn 4, a reminder that the Chaos Demons of Nurgle have 0 command points available, and the Dark Angels also have 0 command points available.
A reminder that the Chaos Demons of Nurgle held on to the tactical objective cards secure Objective 3 from their previous turn. And the Chaos Demons of Nurgle drew 2 new tactical objective cards, and they drew Psychological Warfare. Score 1 victory point if your opponent failed a morale test during this turn. If your opponent failed 3 or more morale tests, score D3 victory points instead. And they also drew Hold the Line. Score 1 victory point if you have at least 3 units completely within your deployment zone, and your opponent has no models within your deployment zone at the end of your turn. This objective cannot be achieved on your first turn. So going into the movement phase, this squad of Plague Bearers sitting on Objective Marker 1 will remain still. This squad of Plague Bearers sitting on Objective Marker 4 will also remain still. This squad of Plague Bearers sitting on Objective Marker 5 will now move up to 5 inches backwards, and they will also declare an advance in an attempt to get fully within their own deployment zone. And here's their advance roll, only rolling 1 inch for 6 inches of total movement. And the Plague Bearers will finish their movement right here. Not a single model is within the deployment zone, so they will not achieve that this turn. This Demon Prince of Nurgle with wings is now going to move up to 12 inches backwards. And he will finish his movement right here, just over an inch away from the Nephilim Jet Fighter. This squad of Plague Drones is now going to slightly shuffle around in order to get within just over an inch away from the Nephilim Jet Fighter. And they will finish their movement like so. This Great Unclean One, who I just realized forgot to consolidate in the last Nurgle turn, which is unfortunate for him because that would have been potentially 3 inches of additional movement, which would be very useful now, is simply going to move 5 inches up the board towards the Dark Angels, and he will also declare an advance. And here's his advance roll, getting 5 inches of advance for up to 10 inches of total movement. And the Great Unclean One will end its movement like so. Next, Rodigus will move up the board up to 7 inches since he's still at full health, and he will not advance. And Rodigus will finish his movement right here. This Demon Prince of Nurgle will now move up to 12 inches up the board, and he will finish his movement like so. Going into the Psychic phase, for Chaos Demons of Nurgle turn 4, this Demon Prince of Nurgle will attempt to manifest Smite onto this Nephilim Jet Fighter. And Smite has a warp charge value of 5, and he gets it with an 8. And it will cause D3 mortal wounds, and it will cause just 1 mortal wound. So this Nephilim Jet Fighter will fall from 10 starting wounds down to 9. This Demon Prince of Nurgle will now attempt to manifest Fleshy Abundance onto the Great Unclean One with Corruption. Fleshy Abundance has a warp charge value of 5, and he fails with a 4. The Great Unclean One with Corruption will now attempt to manifest Stream of Corruption and Smite onto this Tactical Marine Squad because it is the closest visible enemy unit, and it is just within 7 inches. So starting with Stream of Corruption, which has a warp charge value of 5. And he gets it with an 11. And so it will cause D3 mortal wounds, and it will cause 3 mortal wounds. So the 3 regular tactical marines will be killed off, leaving only the sergeant and the plasma cannon. And now for Smite, which has a warp charge value of 6, and he gets it with a 9. And it will cause D3 mortal wounds, and of course it will only cause 1 mortal wound. And so the sergeant will be killed off, leaving only the plasma cannon. Finally, Rodigus will attempt to manifest Miasma of Pestilence and Virulent Blessing onto himself. starting with Miasma of Pestilence, which has a warp charge value of 6, and he gets it with the 10. And because that is a pass of a psychic test on 7 or more, it will cause a mortal wound to the closest enemy unit. Unfortunately for the Dark Angels, that is the plasma cannon, so that tactical marine squad is wiped out. And now for Virulent Blessing, which has a warp charge value of 7. And he passes that with the 7 as well, which will cause another mortal wound. And that will be placed onto the Land Raider Redeemer, reducing it from 13 wounds down to 12. Going into the shooting phase, this squad of Plague Drones is going to fire its Death's Heads into the Nephilim Jet Fighter. 10 shots, hitting on 5s, rerolling 1s, getting 2 hits and 1 reroll. And here's the reroll, still failing to hit. Strength 4 versus Toughness 6 means wounding on 5s, rerolling 1s, getting a fail and a reroll. And here's the reroll, getting 1 wound. And because that was a wound roll of a 6, it will do 1 additional damage if it goes through. So no AP, so 1 3-up armor save, which passes anyways. Finally, in the shooting phase, Rodigus is within 7 inches of the Land Raider Redeemer, so he can fire his streams of brackish filth. And it will do 2 d6 shots, getting 9 shots. This weapon automatically hits, so 9 hits. Strength 7 versus Toughness 8 means wounding on 5s, rerolling, getting 2 wounds and 7 rerolls. And here's the rerolls, getting 3 more wounds for 5 wounds total. And 3 of them are 6s, which means they will do an additional damage if they go through. Minus 3 AP, so 2 5-up armor saves against the 1 damage attacks. Both of those will go through, so that's 2 damage so far. And now the 3 5-up armor saves against the 2 damage attacks. Managing to pass 2 of those, only failing 1. So we will have a total of 4 damage taken. And so that will reduce the Land Raider from 12 wounds down to 8. So going into the assault phase, we have 4 charges to declare. First is this Demon Prince of Nurgle right here, declaring a charge into the Land Raider Redeemer. Second is Rodigus declaring a charge into the Land Raider Redeemer. Third will be the other Demon Prince of Nurgle declaring a charge into the Nephilim Jet Fighter. And fourth will be the squad of Plague Drones declaring a charge into the Nephilim Jet Fighter. We will begin with this Demon Prince charging into the Land Raider Redeemer because he is 8.5 inches away, which means that the Land Raider Redeemer will not be able to overwatch with its Flamestorm cannons. So only the 12 shots from the Twin Assault Cannon hitting on 6s, getting 1 hit. Strength 6 versus Toughness 6 means wounding on a 4, and it wounds. 1 4-up armor save, because minus 1 AP, which fails. Only 1 damage, so 1 5-up Disgustingly Resilient roll, which also fails. So the Demon Prince of Nurgle will fall from 5 wounds down to 4. And now for charge range from the Demon Prince, since he is 8.5 inches away, and he is not charging through a crater, he only needs 8 inches to make it in, and he fails with a 6. Which means Rodigus will attempt to charge in now, and he will have to suffer all of the Overwatch. Starting with 12 shots from the Twin Assault Cannon, hitting on 6s, getting 2 hits this time. Strength 6 versus Toughness 7 means wounding on 5s, and failing to wound. 2 d6 shots from the Flamestorm cannons, getting 8 shots. This weapon automatically hits, so 8 hits. Strength 6 versus Toughness 7 means wounding on 5s, and getting 4 wounds. 4 5-up and vulnerable saves, failing all 4. 2 damage apiece, so 8 5-up Disgustingly Resilient rolls, passing 4 and failing 4. So Rodigus will fall from 18 starting wounds down to 14. And now for his charge distance, and he is going through a crater, and he rolls 7 inches. And he is 6.5 inches away, which means he needed to roll an 8 at least in order to become a 6 in order to get within an inch. So Rodigus will fail his charge as well. Next, the Plague Drones will charge into the Nephilim Jet Fighter to soak up the Overwatch. 2 shots from the Black Sword missile launchers, hitting on 6s, getting 1 hit. Strength 7 versus Toughness 5 means wounding on a 3, and it fails to wound. 10 shots from the Avenger Megabolter, hitting on 6s, getting 3 hits. Strength 6 versus Toughness 5 means wounding on 3s, getting 3 wounds. 3 5-up and vulnerable saves, passing 2 and failing 1. Only 1 damage apiece, so 1 5-up Disgustingly Resilient roll, which fails. And so a Plague Drone at the back, this one right here, will fall from 4 starting wounds down to 3. 6 shots from the Twin Heavy Bolter, hitting on 6s, getting 2 hits. Strength 5 versus Toughness 5 means wounding on 4s, getting 2 wounds. 2 5-up and vulnerable saves, failing both. 2 5-up disgustingly resilient rolls, and failing both of those as well. So now the wounded plague drone will fall from 3 wounds down to 1 left. And here's their charge distance, getting 11 inches. And now all 5 are locked in combat with the Nephilim jet fighter. So now the Demon Prince of Nurgle will charge in, and since he's just over an inch away, he will automatically make it. And so now that the Demon Prince is locked in combat, we will move into the fight phase. And we will start with the Demon Prince placing his attacks onto the Nephilim jet fighter. 7 attacks, hitting on 2s, rerolling 1s, getting 5 hits and 2 rerolls. And here's the 2 rerolls, getting all 7 hits. Strength 7 versus Toughness 6 means wounding on 3s and getting 7 wounds. Minus 2 AP, so 7 5-up armor saves. Wow! And passing 4, failing 3. So that is 6 damage. So the Nephilim jet fighter will fall from 9 wounds down to 3. And now the plague drones will get to attack. So starting with the 6 attacks from the plague swords. Hitting on 4s, rerolling 1s. And that's really bad, getting only 2 hits. Strength 4 versus Toughness 6 means wounding on 5s, rerolling. Getting a wound and a reroll. And here's the reroll, still failing to wound. Thanks to Locus of Virulence, which I totally forgot on the Demon Prince, so hopefully that won't affect anything. But thanks to Locus of Virulence, this will do 2 damage instead of 1 if it gets past the armor save. So no AP, so 1 3-up armor save, which passes. And now 20 attacks from the Prehensile Proboscis, hitting on 4s, rerolling 1s, getting 13 hits and 3 rerolls. And here's the 3 rerolls, getting 2 more hits, for 15 hits total. Strength 4 versus Toughness 6 means wounding on 5s, rerolling. Getting 5 wounds and 10 rerolls. And here's the 10 rerolls, getting 3 more wounds. 5 of them will be 2 damage, 3 of them will be 3 damage. So starting with 3 3-up armor saves thanks to no AP for the 3 damage attacks. 2 of them go through anyway, so that's 6 damage, and that will finish off the Nephilim jet fighter. We don't even have to roll for the 5 2 damage attacks. On a 6, does it crash and burn? And it does not. So this Nephilim jet fighter is finished off and removed from the battlefield. And now the plague drones will consolidate up to 3 inches towards the Dark Angels. And so the plague drones will finish their consolidation right here. The wounded one is this one in the back. And so going into the morale phase, there are no morale checks to take. So taking a look at the tactical objective cards, Chaos Demons of Nurgle failed to secure Objective 3, they failed to complete Psychological Warfare, and they failed to complete Hold the Line. And the Chaos Demons of Nurgle will throw Psychological Warfare away.
And so at the end of Chaos Demons of Nurgle turn 4, the score currently sits at 7 victory points for the Chaos Demons of Nurgle and 7 victory points for the Dark Angels. Going into Dark Angels turn 4, a reminder that the Dark Angels have 0 command points available, and the Chaos Demons of Nurgle also have 0 command points available.
At the start of the turn, the Dark Angels need to draw 3 new tactical objective cards since they drew Defend Objective 6, score 2 victory points if you control Objective Marker 6 at the end of 2 consecutive turns, Kingslayer, score D3 victory points if your opponent's Warlord has been destroyed during this or any previous turn, and Seize and Interrogate, score 1 victory point if any enemy characters were slain by a Dark Angels unit in the fight phase this turn. If your opponent's Warlord was slain by a Dark Angels unit during the fight phase this turn, score D3 victory points instead. So going into the movement phase of Dark Angels turn 4, this Predator will remain still. This Tactical Marine Sergeant back here on Objective Marker 3 will also remain still. The Ravenwing Talon Master, however, will move up the board up to 16 inches. And he will finish his movement right here, just over an inch away from the Plague Drone. This squad of Tactical Marines, sitting on Objective Marker 6, will remain still, so that they can begin to defend it. Finally, this Land Raider Redeemer will also remain still. Going into the shooting phase, the Dark Angels will begin by having this Land Raider Redeemer fire everything that it has into Rotigus. Starting with the 12 shots from the Twin Assault Cannon, the Land Raider Redeemer is down to a 4-up ballistic skill thanks to being down to 8 wounds. However, thanks to Miasma of Pestilence, it's only going to hit on 5s, no rerolls. Getting 3 hits. Strength 6 versus Toughness 7 means wounding on 5s and failing to wound. The 2 Flamestorm cannons will have 2d6 shots total, getting 6 shots. This weapon automatically hits, so 6 hits. Strength 6 versus Toughness 7 means wounding on 5s, getting 2 wounds. 2 5-up and vulnerable saves, passing 1 and failing 1. 2 damage apiece, however, so 2 5-up disgustingly resilient rolls, passing 1 and failing 1. So Rodriguez will fall from 14 wounds down to 13. Next, the Tactical Marine Squad in the back will fire everything that they have into Rodriguez. The Plasma Cannon will fire supercharged shots. 2 of the bolt guns are in rapid fire range, 2 of them are not. So 6 bolt gun shots total and D3 supercharged Plasma Cannon shots. Starting with 6 shots from the Plasma Cannon. From the bolt guns, not the plasma cannons, that'd be a very impressive plasma cannon if it had 6 shots. 6 shots from the bolt guns, hitting on 3s, rerolling 1s, getting 3 hits and 1 reroll. And here's the reroll, getting a 4th hit. Strength 4 versus Toughness 7 means wounding on 5s, getting 1 wound. 1 5-up and vulnerable save, which fails. 1 5-up disgustingly resilient roll, which passes. Finally, D3 supercharged shots, getting 3 shots. Hitting on 3s, rerolling 1s. Oh, wow. Failing to hit, no rerolls. This Tactical Marine Sergeant will now fire his bolt gun at full range into this squad of plague drones. 1 shot, hitting on a 3, rerolling 1 since he stayed still, so getting a reroll. And here's the reroll, getting a hit. Strength 4 versus Toughness 5 means wounding on a 5, and it fails to wound. The Ravenwing Talonmaster will now fire everything that he has into the squad of plague drones. 12 shots from the Twin Assault Cannon, hitting on 3s, getting 10 hits. Strength 6 versus Toughness 5 means wounding on 3s, rerolling 1s, getting 5 wounds and 1 reroll. And here's the reroll, still failing to wound. 5 5-up and vulnerable saves, passing 2, failing 3. 1 damage piece, so 3 5-up disgustingly resilient rolls, and passing all 3 of them. 6 shots from the Twin Heavy Bolter, hitting on 3s, getting 6 hits. Strength 5 versus Toughness 5 means wounding on 4s, rerolling 1s, getting 2 wounds, 3 fails, and 1 cocked dice. And here's rerolling the cocked dice, which still fails. So 2 5-up and vulnerable saves, passing 1 and failing 1. So 1 5-up disgustingly resilient roll, which passes. So the Ravenwing Talonmaster did absolutely nothing in that shooting phase. Finally, the Predator will pump everything that it has into Rodriguez over here, who we now can see. Starting with the 2 shots from the last cannons, hitting on 3s, getting 2 hits. Strength 9 versus Toughness 7 means wounding on 3s, getting 1 wound. 1 5-up and vulnerable save, which fails, and it will do D6 damage, doing 4 damage. 4 5-up disgustingly resilient rolls, passing 3, failing 1. So Rodriguez will fall from 13 wounds down to 12. And now the 2 D3 shots from the Predator autocannon, getting 6 hits. Getting 6 shots, now rolling to hit, needing 3s, getting 4 hits. Strength 7 versus Toughness 7 means wounding on 4s, no rerolls, getting 2 wounds. 2 5-up and vulnerable saves, passing 1 and failing 1. 3 damage apiece, so 3 5-up disgustingly resilient rolls, and failing all 3. So Rodriguez will fall from 12 wounds down to 9. Going into the assault phase, the Ravenwing Talonmaster is going to declare charge solely onto the Demon Prince of Nurgle. There's no overwatch, so here's the charge, getting 7 inches. And the Ravenwing Talonmaster is now solely in combat with the Demon Prince. Ravenwing Talonmaster will go first, 5 attacks with the Heavenfall Blade, hitting on 2s, getting 5 hits. Strength 6 versus Toughness 6 means wounding on 4s, rerolling 1s, getting 3 wounds. Minus 3 AP, so 3 5-up and vulnerable saves, passing 1 and failing 2. D3 damage apiece, for a total of 6 damage. 6 5-up disgustingly resilient rolls, passing 4 and failing only 2. So the Demon Prince will fall from 4 wounds down to 2. And now the Demon Prince will strike back, 7 attacks, hitting on 2s, rerolling 1s, getting 5 hits and 2 rerolls. And here's the 2 rerolls, getting all 7 hits. Strength 7 versus Toughness 6 means wounding on 3s, getting 4 wounds, but 2 of them are 6s, which will do 1 additional damage apiece if they go through. So we have 2 2-damage wounds and 2 3-damage wounds. Minus 2 AP and no invulnerable save. So the Ravenwing Talonmaster will start with 2 5-up armor saves against the 2 2-damage wounds, passing both of those. And now 2 5-up armor saves against the 2 3-damage wounds, passing one and failing one. So the Ravenwing Talonmaster will fall from 6 starting wounds down to 3. And so going into the morale phase, there are no morale checks to take. And so taking a look at the tactical objective cards, the Dark Angels are now 1 turn into defending objective 6. They have not completed Kingslayer, and they did not complete Seize and Interrogate, and at this point they will throw Seize and Interrogate away.
And so at the end of Dark Angels turn 4, the score currently sits at 7 victory points for the Dark Angels and 7 victory points for the Chaos Demons of Nurgle. Going into Chaos Demons of Nurgle turn 5, a reminder that the Chaos Demons of Nurgle have 0 command points available, and the Dark Angels also have 0 command points available.
Also a reminder that the Chaos Demons of Nurgle held on to the tactical objective cards Secure Objective 3 and Hold the Line from the previous turn, and so they draw 1 new tactical objective card, which is Secure Objective 4, score 1 victory point if you control Objective Marker 4 at the end of your turn. And Objective Marker 3 is this one right here, currently being held by a lone tactical Marine Sergeant. And Objective Marker 4 is this one right here, currently being held by a squad of Plague Bearers. So going into the movement phase, this squad of Plague Bearers sitting on Objective Marker 4 will remain still. This squad of Plague Bearers sitting on Objective Marker 1 will also remain still. This third squad of Plague Bearers, currently not sitting on any objective markers, is going to move 5 inches backwards into their own deployment zone, and they will also declare an advance. And here's their advance roll, rolling 4 additional inches for up to 9 inches of total movement. And the Plague Bearers will finish their movement like so, and they are now fully within their deployment zone. So the Chaos Demons of Nurgle now have 3 full units within their own deployment zone, and no Dark Angels models and or units are within either. This Demon Prince of Nurgle will remain locked in combat with the Ravenwing Talonmaster. This squad of Plague Drones is going to move up the board up to 10 inches. And so the 5 Plague Drones will end up right here. The wounded one is here in the back. Rodigus, now that he's down to 9 wounds, is going to move 5 inches up the board. Rodigus will finish his movement right here, and he is now just within 2 inches of the Land Raider Redeemer. Now the Great Unclean One with Corruption will also move up the board up to 5 inches. And he will finish his movement right there. Finally, this Demon Prince of Nurgle is going to move up the board up to 12 inches. And he will finish his movement over here, making sure to stay over an inch away from the Land Raider. Going into the Psychic phase, the Demon Prince of Nurgle is going to attempt to manifest Fleshy Abundance onto Rodigus. Fleshy Abundance has a warp charge value of 5, and he passes with a 5. And it will regenerate D3 wounds, regenerating just 1 wound. But that will bring Rodigus back up from 9 wounds to 10, which is significant because Rodigus is now back up to his highest tier on his damage chart. This Demon Prince will now attempt to manifest Smite onto the Ravenwing Talonmaster. And Smite has a warp charge value of 5, and he passes with a 7. And it will do D3 mortal wounds, and it will do just 1 mortal wound. So the Ravenwing Talonmaster will fall from 3 wounds down to 2. Next, Rodigus will attempt to manifest Miasma of Pestilence onto himself, and he will also attempt to manifest Virulent Blessing onto the Demon Prince. Starting with Miasma of Pestilence, which has a warp charge value of 6, and he passes with an 8, which will of course do a mortal wound to the nearest enemy unit. So the Land Raider will fall from 8 wounds down to 7. Now for Virulent Blessing onto the Demon Prince of Nurgle with Wings, which has a warp charge value of 7, and he passes with a 10. And so once again, thanks to the ability Deluge of Nurgle, an additional mortal wound is placed onto the nearest enemy unit from Rodigus, which means the Land Raider will fall from 7 wounds down to 6. Finally, in the Psychic phase, the Great Unclean One with Corruption will attempt to manifest Smite and Stream of Corruption onto the Land Raider Redeemer. Beginning with Smite, which now has a warp charge value of 6, and he passes with a 6. And it will do D3 mortal wounds, and it will do 3 mortal wounds. So the Land Raider Redeemer will fall from 6 wounds down to 3 left. And now for Stream of Corruption, which has a warp charge value of 5, and he passes with a 7. And this will do D3 mortal wounds as well. And what do you know? It does another 3 mortal wounds, which will finish off the Land Raider. So does it explode on a 6? And it does not. So the Land Raider will simply lose its final 3 wounds and be removed from the battlefield. Moving into the shooting phase, Rodriguez is going to fire his streams of brackish filth into the squad of tactical marines on objective marker 6. 2 D6 shots, getting 9 shots. This weapon automatically hits, so 9 hits. Strength 7 versus toughness 4 means wounding on 3s. Re-rolling. Getting 5 wounds, 3 re-rolls, and 1 cocked dice. So first re-rolling the cocked dice, which is a fail, so that will be re-rolled. So 4 re-rolls. Getting 3 more wounds, for 8 wounds total. Minus 3 AP, and since the entire unit is not within the ruin, they don't get the benefit of cover. So 8 6-up armor saves. Wouldn't have mattered even if they had the +1. Failing 7, passing only 1. So all 5 tactical marines are wiped out. Finally, this squad of plague drones is all within range and can see to fire all of their death's heads into this lone tactical marine sergeant. 10 shots hitting on 4s, getting 5 hits. Strength 4 versus toughness 4 means wounding on 4s, rerolling 1s. Getting 3 wounds. No AP but +1 thanks to the ruin, so 3 2-up armor saves. And failing 1, of course. So this sergeant is killed off, and that will finish off the squad. Going into the assault phase, there is only 1 charge to declare, and that will be this squad of plague drones declaring a charge onto the Predator. Predator will overwatch with everything, of course, starting with 2 last cannon shots hitting on 6s. Both fail to hit. D3 shots from the Predator autocannon, getting 5 shots. Hitting on 6s, no rerolls, getting 2 hits. Strength 7 versus toughness 5 means wounding on 3s, getting 2 wounds. 2 5-up and vulnerable saves, failing both. They are 3 damage apiece, and it will have to be done separately, since the damage doesn't carry over. So, strike number 1, 3 5-up disgustingly resilient, passing 1 but failing 2. But all that will do is remove the final wound from the 1 wounded plague drone in the back. And so strike number 2, 3 5-up disgustingly resilient rolls, passing 1 and failing 2. So the final regular plague drone, this one right here, will fall from 4 starting wounds down to 2. Even though they're charging through a crater, they will automatically make it in because they're just over an inch away and they do have an instrument. However, here's their charge range, getting 8 inches, which means after subtracting 2 but adding 1 back, they will have 7 inches of charge. And so all 4 remaining plague drones are now in combat because they are all either within an inch of the Predator or within an inch of a plague drone who's within an inch of the Predator. And so we will begin, obviously, with the plague drones. 5 attacks from the plague swords, hitting on 4s. No rerolls, getting 4 hits. Strength 4 versus toughness 7 means wounding on 5s, rerolling, getting a wound and 3 rerolls. And here's the rerolls, getting 1 additional wound. And because the plague drones are no longer within 6 inches, they no longer get the +1 damage for wound rolls of 6-ups. No AP, so 2 3-up armor saves, passing 1 and failing 1. So the Predator will fall from 11 starting wounds down to 10. And now 16 attacks from the Prehensile Proboscis hitting on 4s, getting 12 hits. Strength 4 versus toughness 7 means wounding on 5s, rerolling, getting 4 wounds and 8 rerolls. And here's the rerolls, getting 2 additional wounds. No AP, so 6 3-up armor saves. Wow! Passing 2, failing 4. And they are 2 damage apiece. So that is 8 damage, which will drop the Predator from 10 wounds down to just 2 left. Now, resolving units that did not charge, starting with the Chaos Demons of Nurgle, since it is their turn, the Demon Prince of Nurgle will strike against the Ravenwing Talonmaster. 7 attacks, hitting on 2s, rerolling 1s, getting 6 hits, and 1 reroll. And here's the reroll, getting a 7th hit. Strength 7 versus toughness 6 means wounding on 3s, getting 4 wounds. Since they are 2 damage apiece base and the Ravenwing Talonmaster only has 2 wounds left, Locus of Virulence does not matter in this instance. So minus 2 AP, 4 5-up armor saves, and he would have had to pass all 4 in order to survive, so failing 3, which is 6 damage at least. And so the Ravenwing Talonmaster is killed off. And the Demon Prince of Nurgle will now consolidate up to 3 inches up the board, and he will finish right there. Finally, we need to resolve the attacks from the Predator onto the Plague Drones. Now that he's down to 2 wounds, only 1 attack hitting on a 6. and it fails to hit. Going into the morale phase, this squad of plague drones did lose one model this turn, so they will have to take a morale check thanks to their icon. On a 1, they'll get the slain model back. Otherwise, they will pass since they have a leadership of 7. And so here's their morale check roll, and they roll a 2, so they pass, but nothing happens. So taking a look at the tactical objective cards for the Chaos Demons of Nurgle, they have once again failed to secure objective 3. They did, however, now successfully complete Hold the Line for 1 victory point, and they also successfully completed Secure Objective 4 for 1 victory point. And at this point, because we are in turn 5, they will throw Secure Objective 3 away.
And so at the end of Chaos Demons of Nurgle turn 5, the score currently sits at 9 victory points for the Chaos Demons of Nurgle and 7 victory points for the Dark Angels. Going into Dark Angels turn 5, a reminder that the Dark Angels have 0 command points available, and the Chaos Demons of Nurgle also have 0 command points available.
A reminder that the Dark Angels held on to Defend Objective 6 and Kingslayer from the previous turn, and so they draw 1 new tactical objective card and they drew Secure Objective 2. Score 1 victory point if you control Objective Marker 2 at the end of your turn. And Objective Marker 6 is this one right here, now currently not being held by anyone. And Objective Marker 2 is this one right here, also currently not being held by anyone. And so at this point, normally the Dark Angels would want to concede since all they have left is a heavily wounded Predator that is locked in combat and therefore will not be able to shoot. But since this is turn 5, let's see if the Dark Angels can survive till the end of the game, since it's possible that this might be the last player turn of the last game turn. So going into the movement phase, the Predator will remain locked in combat. Therefore, going into the shooting phase, there is nothing that can shoot. Wouldn't be able to shoot if he fell out of combat anyways, so might as well stay in, see if he can survive. So going into the assault phase, there are no charges to declare. So going into the fight phase, we will resolve the Predator versus the Plague Drones. So 1 attack from the Predator hitting on a 6, and it fails to hit. So now the Plague Drones will hit back, starting with 5 attacks from their Plague Swords, hitting on 4s, getting 1 hit only. Strength 4 versus Toughness 7 means wounding on a 5, re-rolling, and here's the re-roll, still failing to wound. 16 attacks from the Prehensile Proboscis, hitting on 4s, no re-rolls, and that 3 right there is a cocked dice technically, so we will re-roll that. So getting 9 hits and 1 cocked dice. Here's the cocked dice, still failing to hit. So 9 hits total. Strength 4 versus Toughness 7 means wounding on 5s, re-rolling. Getting 4 wounds and 5 re-rolls, and here's the re-rolls. Getting 2 more wounds. These are 2 damage apiece, so the Predator will have to pass every single one in order to survive. 6 3-up armor saves, and he does! The Predator survives, taking no damage. So moving into the morale phase, there are no morale checks to take. So taking a look at the tactical objective cards, they failed to defend Objective 6, and they lost all of their progress on that objective card since the tactical Marine squad was killed off. They failed to complete Kingslayer, and they failed to complete Secure Objective 2, so they will throw Defend Objective 6 away. And so now we need to roll to see if the game continues. On a 1 or a 2, the game will end. On a 3-up, the game continues. And the game will continue on a 6. However, at this point, there's no point in continuing the rest of the game. It was fun to see the Predator try to survive, and it did against those Plague Drones, but there's really no point in continuing for a full another turn. So at this point, the Dark Angels will concede the game. And so at the end of the game, the Chaos Demons of Nurgle will achieve Line Breaker. And so after achieving Line Breaker, we will have a final score of 10 victory points for the Chaos Demons of Nurgle and 7 victory points for the Dark Angels, with a major victory for the Chaos Demons of Nurgle thanks to a Dark Angels concession at the end of game turn 5. And so now that the game is over and it's been officially announced that we have a Chaos Demon of Nurgle major victory thanks to Dark Angel's concession with a final score of 10-7 in Nurgle's favor, and go over 1 or 2 of my final thoughts in the game. First and foremost, of course, is reason for concession by the Dark Angels. It's fairly obvious, but all they have left is a single Predator who's down to 2 wounds and was not going to be able to do anything. The fact that the game would have continued into turn 6, since we did roll for it, it's pretty pretty obvious that that Predator was not going to last. Whether it had fallen back or not, the Chaos Demons of Nurgle would have been able to finish it off. Because obviously the Demon Prince of Nurgle over on this side of the board could have moved up 12 inches and then attempted to manifest Smite, and then all of the various attacks from the Plague Drones, most likely with another full turn, would have been able to finish it off, including shooting attacks, of course. Depending on where the Predator falls back to, and it would not have been able to fall back very far since it was down to 2 wounds, the other Demon Prince of Nurgle on the other side of the map possibly could have been able to move over and get within 18-inch range for Smite as well, and so the combination of 2 smites, if both are successful, will definitely do at least 2 mortal wounds, because they do a minimum of 1 apiece. So if both smites are even successful, it will definitely kill off the Predator, and there's nothing the Dark Angels can do about it. So at this point, concession was kind of mandatory, since the Dark Angels stood no chance, and they were about to be tabled. I do have to say that at the beginning of the game, after Dark Angels turn 1 and they were able to wipe out one of the Great Unclean Ones, it definitely looked at the beginning like things were going to be more grim for the Chaos Demons of Nurgle. I thought the Dark Angels had them on the ropes, but apparently not, as the Dark Angels were not able to do much else the rest of the game. They did finish off the 1 Plague Drone squad, but that was really about it. They were unable to kill off Rodigus or the other Great Unclean One, even though they brought that Great Unclean One back down to 5 wounds. They knocked him down to 5 wounds a couple of times, and they weren't able to bring him lower. So that's just unfortunate. They weren't able to finish off either Demon Prince. And in terms of victory points, it was close all the way through. At the end of game turn 1, game turn 2, game turn 3, and game turn 4, the score was tied. 3 victory points apiece, 4 victory points apiece, 7 victory points apiece, and 7 victory points apiece respectively. So it was close in terms of victory points. Both sides were holding in there. Both sides put up a really good fight, but in the end it fell apart for the Dark Angels. I think the turning point was when all of the Deathwing Knights disembarked, along with Belial, charged the Great Unclean One with corruption and failed to finish him off. I think that was the real turning point, because when they failed to finish him off, and in fact, when they failed to bring him down to his lowest tier, he was still able to keep enough wounds to stay at his 2nd tier. He was able to do a lot of damage, and the fact that he survived meant he was able to add that firepower throughout the rest of the game to finish things off. He aided in helping to finish off the Deathwing Knights through his psychic powers. I think he finished off Belial, if I'm remembering correctly. So the fact that they failed to finish off that 2nd Great Unclean One in close combat with the Deathwing Knights really put the squeeze on and caused massive problems. And the fact that the Chaos Demons of Nurgle were able to chip away at that Land Raider with psychic powers, which the Dark Angels really couldn't do anything about, and the fact that the Land Raider took so much damage from Rodicus's stream of brackish filth in one of the shooting phases, I mean, that really hurt. I was not expecting that much damage to be done. That's how the dice rolled this game. So I hope you enjoyed. Thank you so much for watching, and stay tuned for the next one.